What's up, students? It's Devlin Cassidy, aka The Scholar, coming back at you guys today with a Isabelle premium deck profile. Before we get into it, I want to say thank you to today's sponsor, Kingslayer Cards, for sponsoring today's video. Please go check out their website, which is the link is down in the description below, and use the code SCHOLAR to save 5% off of your order. I know they have an event coming up at the end of February 25th and 26th, which the first day will be an Overtrigger event with standard, and then the second day will be a premium event with no Overtrigger. So it's gonna be very interesting. Please make it the highest turnout event. I know Kingslayer Cards is trying to raise a huge community in the Florida and southern area, so please make it if you can. But let's get started right into the profile. So we could play V-Starter because, again, like I say, every profile you have to have a really good excuse in premium not to play a V-Starter. V-Starters are absolutely broken. Then for the grade 3s, we love her. It's goated. This card single-handedly got me sold on great. Well, not this card, but her previous version, but her new version had me sold for Isabelle. This is an insane card. So for those that don't know what she does, she has a continuous skill in the Vanguard circle for all of her lottery effects, meaning when you discard the top card of your deck to the drop zone. You will perform both effects on that card, which matters for a defensive play that this Great Nature deck can do that other decks cannot. And then her neat skill is on place. She can check the top 3 cards of your deck and you can put them back in any order. So either you can set up a defensive trigger or you can set up some offensive trigger if you're trying to push a little early. But she's better more of just like, you ride up, you can check the top 3. They all go back on the top. She does not like OTT where she can stack to the bottom, but she do stack on top. So this is absolutely perfect and really well necessary to have the play for. Then we're getting into some staples. We're playing 2 copies of Talented Rhinos. So Rhinos here actually has a very important skill of where he just is able to turn off grade 0s, which again is your opponent's most shield value, and just be able to be just a key and a combo centric piece for Great Nature as a whole. So very good card, still is a staple, still your main combo extender for your beatdown plays. We're playing 1 Amazing Professor Big Belly. This card's still important, just being able an additional Crayon Tiger clone. So playing a 5th restander is better than playing than 4, so that we are able to hit your combo restand combos against decks that don't have much as interaction. So definitely worth it to play this card. And then for our last grade 3, this is the card that enables the Denial Griffin combo for Great Nature. This card is Daring Scientist Mary Martin. So what Mary Martin says is when she's placed, you can counterblast 1, soul blast 1, and you send the top card of your deck to the drop zone. You mill 1. If it's a normal unit, your opponent cannot intercept until the end of that turn. And if it's a triggering unit, you choose an opponent's column, the same column that this unit was called to, and you retire both units in that column. So it dodges sweeper and dodges other removal effects, but the cool thing is that while Isabelle's continuous face up on the Vanguard circle, you are able to blow up an entire column off a G-Guard that we can use and call during our opponent's turn, which is really phenomenal. So we really love having the access to Mary Martin. It's not such as our biggest play just because the meta is very different than when like the Nile Griffin combo was huge, because we were in a meta where just it was 1 unit made the whole turn, so you remove the unit, you are living that turn. Because now it's a lot more combo intricacies where a lot of decks are now able to, just replace more attacks to go above and beyond a Denial Griffin combo, but it's still needed for some situations. They may swing with Vanguard and then put a bunch of crits to the rear guard, so then you can just blow up the rear guard while guarding and then like guard another attack. So it's definitely applicable to a bunch of situations. Going into our grade 2s, we are playing none other than 4 copies of Crayon Tiger. So again, really staple card for Great Nature. You just wanted to counterblast 1 when he's boosted, you give a unit 4k and you restand it, and then at the end of the turn you retire it and draw a card. So again, absolutely staple card for Great Nature. This is a must play at 4, just because this enables so many of your combo lines. It's just absolutely phenomenal. And then what I call kind of, I guess, the advantage engine. So since Great Nature's early game is still trash and we just need to hard plus an Isabelle, like find our heals to live or find cards to live, I am doing a 4-2 split of these cards. So we'll go over them individually. So Blusher Parquet is counterblast 1, you check top 7 and you add a grade 3. And so this grade 3 can either be a Mary Martin or an Isabelle to correctly ride, because you need to ride that card. You don't ride that card, you die. Because the deck is so centered around Isabelle. And then she gains 3k, and she doesn't have to discard, which is really cool. So we really do like that aspect about her. And then she pops herself as a rare. So like in Big Belly, it's better because you get a draw off her pop, but it's still very card because it still improves your ride consistency. And then we're playing 2 copies of Hamsuke's rival, Red and Blue Pencil, Hamhiko. So this card is Counterboss 1, Soul Blast 1. You'll look at the top 2 cards of your deck, add one to hand, send the other to drop. And then when a card is put from the deck to the drop zone, you can have this card get 5k. Mind you, though, this is a once per turn. So if you activate Vanguard Armor, you will only get 5k from this card versus 20. The Researcher Fox and the Barcode Zebra from V-Series. So that's the only difference there. But again, this card's hard plussing, which Great Nature needs to do to live. And so this is kind of the only way we have currently right now of hard plussing in the early game. Moving on to the grade 1s. So we are playing a really interesting grade 1 lineup because, again, you're playing more of a control and tempo deck. You're trying to make sure you live to your stride turns, so that way you're able to start pushing and getting advantage. And so how we first start by doing that is making sure we can ride everything correctly. So this is our grade 3 searcher, Diligent Assistant Mini Belly. So when he is placed, you just check the top 5, add a grade 3, add it to hand, discard a card. And then if there's an additional unit on an additional rear guard circle, he gets 5k. So this card is absolutely mandatory for the deck just to have the best ride consistency. Then we're playing 2 copies of Label Pangolin. What can I say? This card, you still need to play it. Isabelle has a major resource issue, which is one of the reasons I'm not too hip on the deck currently, and why I think Big Belly is still to play. So this just lets you countercharge and soul charge every time a unit with the effect attacks a Vanguard and is 20k or greater. And you can only activate this skill during the turn it's placed on the main phase. And it's a GB1 lock. So you really kind of do this for your first big combo turn. You set up all your resources, and then you're able to go from there. And then we play a huge Cray Elemental package. We are playing 3 Rollick. Rollick is just there to, survive early rush, not have an OT completely blow you out, just stuff like that. You no Blast Dragon Empire, then they go 100 million on their Vanguard when they hit the 1 drive check is still insane because they're still getting additional cards. So not having force being to take that damage is huge. Let's say your opponent hits the Dark States OT early. I think this card is just really important for you to live. There's a reason this card was sitting at $20 at one point. I know it's fallen a little bit since the announcement of the reprint set, which is really fantastic. But I hopefully this card gets reprinted because this card's just so good and actually really truly a staple in this format. Then we're playing 2 Mist Off. So this card may be a catch-all. You're like Devlin. Great Nature draws a bunch of cards. Why would you want to limit yourself at the end of your turn? So the cool thing though about this, and particularly against Highlander, where they can farm massive hands. I know there's an Anj play that they can do. They can turn like 3 cards into 16. Incredibly crazy stuff. And so being able to limit that back down to 8 is huge. It takes away, it makes them sometimes discard some defensive pieces. If they farmed a bunch of defensive pieces, have to cut 4 defensive pieces out. That's huge. Because I know like Highlander stuff don't have Denial Griffin combos that absolutely shut down Great Nature. But this card's still good. And then Grand Blue can get like massive hands. So even though they put it into an extension of their hand, the drop zone, it's just still more cards that you can potentially get rid of, which can be just called off the G Guardian mid-turn, that we'll get to in a minute. So this card still, I think, is absolutely necessary to play. And then we're playing 2 Honolly. This is just to interrupt big attack combo decks like Spikes and other stuff, because I know a lot of these decks cannot remove units mid-battle phase, except for Tachikaze, I think, is the one that we'll mainly see. But yeah, it's just huge. Also, be wary that Jewel Knights can actually too with the grade 1. When it's placed over. So not only does it draw, but it also retires. So you do have to be cognizant of that, but still very great card nonetheless. And then last but not least, Elementaria Sanctitude. Yes, I know it clashes with Mana Armor. Yes, I know it doesn't do anything when milled off Mary Martin, but it's a one of, so RNG is on your side. If it doesn't, oh well, it's Vanguard, it happens. But this card's still fantastic. So it's just a free order. When your opponent's Vanguard has triple drive, you'll just play to the order zone and go, cool, PG. But if not, for some reason, you need to use this card early, you still have to discard a card, but it gets around Sentinel restrictions, which is fantastic because, you know, cards like Hope on Domp and other things are very annoying, or very large cards in general if you don't have the PG, so this is perfect. Then moving in on our triggers, we are playing just the standard 8 crit for the premium series, so 4 Curious Pony for Into Soul, and then 4 Stride crit. You really don't want to be discarding any of your grade 3s for Stride. They're just all such important combo pieces and absolutely fantastic. Playing 3 Draw PG. So, I don't know. I think this card's still good. It's still good defensive hit. Most beautiful PG in the game. Got to kind of play it just to round out your perfect guard lineup. 4 Heal Guardians, just because these help you live. I can see the argument for maybe cutting one of this for an Automism Koala, just because Isabelle truly does have that resource issue. If you feel that best suits your deck list, go ahead. But I'm just concerned about getting and living to actually do any turns. And then, last but not least, the OT, because the OT is crazy. Alrighty, now on to the G-Zone. Our G-Zone is actually very different, and it's just kind of an important reason I want to go over this. So we're going to start by playing 2 Calidrius. Calidrius is an absolutely crazy card. So what it allows you to do is you are able to just pump the front row 10k. Sure, all the front row units retire at the end of the turn, but what you're able to do is you're able to counterblast 1 when he swings, and you're able to restand a unit that has 30k 1000 power, aka your Rhino, and you give it triple door. So they have to guard with 3 cards, and on a Rhino with no zeros, that's really insane, especially if you hit a crit on your drive checks. So this just makes it very lethal. This card's really good. You don't really technically spam any Striding Great Nature, because actually our G-Zone is pretty solid, which I think the weakness for our deck is the early game is just getting there, because we actually have phenomenal pieces in the G-Zone. So I think, though, out of more times than not, this is the card you spam if you're going to spam any Stride per se. Then to the second best boy, we're going into Balarl. So Balarl, sure, does not get as big on the first Stride as Calidrius. Let's say you get 1 G-Guard and then you Stride into Balarl. And so Balarl flips 1, you're only going to be at 8k versus 10k. So sometimes your power lanes are a little bit weaker. But what you do get with Balarl is, for a Soul Blast, you get to get the on-hit pressure of drawing a card, which is absolutely perfect, and the same as Calidrius. They retire all at the end of the turn. So the cool thing though about Balarl though is it scales better in the late game. So if you're at a, you and your opponent have been having a grindy match, Balarl can just kind of be that blowout card of where, okay, cool, I Stride and my front row gets 36,000 power. Yeah, that's absolutely insane. And then we'll go into my tech card before I go into the other one of. So actually for this one, I am playing Fernigus. This card, like I said though, in Big Belly and my other deck profiles, is that this card's really only for floodgating matchups like Gridora and Chaos, just because this gets you advantage. But the reason I actually highly stress this in Isabelle is because this can get you a lot of resources to set up for a following turn. So if you're able to actually G-Guard twice, which you can because you play a lot of grade 3 searchers, you have probably a good solid chance to hit your grade 3s. Is just by playing this can set you up for resources, which can help you have a better turn, because you also draw cards off the whole pop field, so you can just throw trash down and fund it into maybe some better combo pieces and stuff. And then he gets 4k for every card on board, so he's still really good, but he's able to help, if you do run into Mega Colony, just returning all those stun units into value is still really good. So definitely I think Fernigus is a card that can be looked at, but you can cut it for whatever you want if you don't think it is, but I just think this really helps Isabelle in the resource department. Then we play 1 Mana Garmer. So Mana Garmer's sweet because sometimes Solemn and everybody says the gang's all here, because if you just have 2 Crayon Tigers or a Crayon Tiger, an Amazing Professor, and a Rhino, you can just go Excel 1 and just kill your opponent. It doesn't matter. You're just able to mill 3, give a bunch of power, hopefully hit a crit off this drive check, give it to the Rhino, you restand the Rhino twice, you swing the Rhino 3 times, and your opponent just dies. That's just how it is. So it's absolutely crazy, and definitely a potential just to completely murder with this card. Sipticom, this is how we can do the haha funny cheese with the over trigger. Just able to shove it back to the bottom of the deck, and you're just able to go absolutely wild. So Septicom is still a good card. The problem with this card in this deck is you actually blast through your soul a lot for your defensive plays. So this card is not as big as an option, is more of just kind of a fund back. If for some reason you have a bunch of triggers in your hand, you're able just to shove them back to the bottom of the deck. So that's kind of the play and wherewithal with that. So definitely please keep in mind that you're not going to have the super explosive turns like you would have in Belly or Hamsters with this card, just because you will not have the soul. And then finally, for our last card, playing the GB8. I don't know. You can make an argument actually that this could be a Zoa, and then you are cut something for a Monoculous Tiger. I just still think Zoa combo's dead. There's too many G guards that give perfect guard effects for me to warrant to play this, or just G Guardians that get big enough. Like, they have 2 G Guardians, they can still guard it. Like, there's a lot of 35k G Guardians that, sure, it forces them to have 3, and like the Isabelle forces you to mill, but then like they can have Elementaria Sanctitude. I mean, I just don't know. There's just too many effects that I think would just be too slow for this. So this is why I think just having Caligrius is important. Just because it's a more explosive finisher. You're able just to discard cards to start getting a bunch of fuel, and just giving him 10k and a crit is 2. So you just create a bunch of pressure, get your board huge, and you go for game that way. On to G Guardians, double Spangled. This card is insane. You resolve 2 of this on 1 guard step, and you're doubling everything you draw. You're doubling everything you've put down on the Guardian Circle minus these 2. So these are absolutely wild. 2 of the new one. This is Omniscience Dragon, Sebchet Avil. And so what this is a PG every time. So his skill is Counterblast 1. You discard the top card of your deck and you perform one of the following effects based on the card's type. If it's a normal unit, he gets plus 2,000 shield until the end of battle. And if it's a trigger unit, choose one of your units that cannot be hit. So what you have now in the G zone, because with Isabelle is always going to see this as both a normal unit and a trigger unit, is you have PGs now in the G zone. So now instead of playing 4 perfect guards, you play 6. So this can actually really help you in the DP matchup as well, just because they're not able to just completely one-shot you, because they cannot guard break these, but these will always be perfect guards. So this is kind of the cool thing with that, is that this makes your DP matchup a little more tolerable. Sure, they have still the better defense with the scaling shield, but it's really, really cool, and I'm really, really glad to see that they gave this card to us. I kind of called it with the lottery thing, but this is absolutely phenomenal to have in the terms of just having a better defensive G guard options. And then 2 Almirage. So this is the card that enables us to call cards during our opponent's battle phase. This card is Soul Blast 1, and you when it's placed on Guardian Circle, and when you do that, you can choose up to 2 cards from your hand and call them. And then you can choose 4 of your rear guards, and they get resist, and when this unit is not hit, it does not retire at the end of battle. So they cannot blow up anything they call, or you call off this card during mid-battle phase, which is awesome. So it can protect your Hanalis, it can protect your Mistoffs, and then it can also just immediately allow you to go with the Mary Martin denial play, and which is still, very helpful. So, and being able to call 2, so like you can go like Hanali Mistoff, or like Mistoff Mary Martin. Just being able to call 2 just gives a bunch of versatility, and you're also able to call your grade 3 searchers. And the cool thing about that is you are just able to just farm advantage, potentially maybe chain into another heal guardian, so you can maybe get another PG. And so it's just really cool, and I'm really glad that we still have all these defensive and niche options for Great Nature. Then 1 Ardillo, just the free plot maker, so just 25k shield, because what you don't want to be doing is like blowing through your PGG guards just to guard small attacks. It's not necessary. And then finally 1 Kundalini. This card is just important just because, again, Isabelle's resource problem. I wanted to be able to refund Counterblast, since a lot of our combo players are Counterblast oriented, and if we don't find the Pangolin, it's really hard to get enough Counterblast to have an explosive turn. So definitely Kundalini's the play. Countercharging is good, and all that good stuff. But that is going to do it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love bringing you guys Great Nature content, as I finally, for those that don't know, got the Great Nature Clan Leader card. The 2.5 year hunt was over. Someone was selling this and was able to pick it up, so I'm very fortunate to have this now in my possession as a collector's item, and I'll never be getting rid of it. So Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Tell me what you guys think of this build, maybe what you would do differently, or what you really like about it. So check out Kingslayer cards. Again, link in the description down below. Use the code SCHOLAR to save 5% off your order, and it does wonders for me and for KSC, so we are both incredibly thankful. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day and a wonderful rest of your week. I love y'all, and until next time, take care.